Hello and welcome to the Coral Cheltenham Formbook Day 4 preview, looking ahead to all the action on the fourth and final day of the 2026 Cheltenham Festival. This episode of the Coral Cheltenham Formbook is brought to you by the Coral Rewards Shaker, with 100,000 free bets up for grabs every day of the Cheltenham Festival. It's free to play and daily. Coral's here to make this Cheltenham more rewarding. 18 plus UK, online only, max one reward offer per player per day. 8 AM to 8 PM is the operation of the offer. Reward restrictions requirement and T's and C's apply. Head to gambleaward.org. So welcome back again to Tom Stanley, Steve Mellish and Dave Stevens. Gold Cup day, are you usually flagging by this point, Tom, or do you have a second wind?
No, rejuvenated. Yeah, except for a few years ago where I got nick-lucked, but otherwise, yeah, on the Thursday night. Yeah, normally pretty good coming into Friday.
Punting perspective, Steve, is usually a good day for you, the Friday?
For whatever reason, the county hurdle has been my most successful race. I don't know why, it just has been. It's a race about a few winners. So I do look at the race fairly fondly, or the meeting fairly fondly. About plenty of losers in the race as well. But so yes, it's not been a bad day.
And how much of an impact, Dave, can the final day have on success and failure for bookies?
Huge. It's always worth reiterating. Gold Cup is the biggest betting race of the week. It's second only in the whole year to the Grand National. But it isn't just the Gold Cup that's huge. All the races on the Friday will be in the top 20 highest turnover races of the year. Races like the Foxhunters massively outpunch themselves because their proximity to the Gold Cup. There's something about this day. The first 3 days are huge, and then punters take it up another gear. They do keep something in reserve. I love watching the figures on this day. Races like the Albafala, as I say, the Foxhunters, just huge turnover. Look, we talk about Cheltenham literally for 11 and a half months of the year, don't we? We might take a couple of weeks off for Royal Ascot. But there's a reason why we talk about it, because it is so important and it's so huge, and it all leads up to the Gold Cup, which is this year, we'll come on to it obviously, but promises to be an absolutely mouth-watering affair.
I remember you can watch every race from the Cheltenham Festival live on Racing TV. Right, first race, of course, is the Triumph Hurdle Grade 1 contest. This race obviously changed complexion with the defection now of Marciso Has, who sadly misses the race for a setback. But Willie Mullins still trains the joint Fabs, is it, Dave?
I mean, I get a theme of this year's festival is I'm looking to take on Willie Mullins. Probably madness. He loses the 11 to 8 favourite. He ends up with 3 to 1 joint favourites. Proactive and Salma Deveri. It's their Maestro Conti for Dan Skelton. And it brings in the likes of Minella Study for Adam Nicol, which I know, again, we'll come on to.
So let's start with this then, maybe on the British form. Maestro Conti, Minella Study. I mean, you've had One Horse Town, who's run a lot this year. Steve, where would you sort of be leaning from the British perspective?
Well, I'd lean towards Mellish Study. Just a quick observation about the race. There's nothing in this race. Now Nasirsko Haas has come out who's actually put up a performance good enough to win a normal Triumph Hurdle. So whoever wins has got to improve. So you're trying to find an improver. My argument for Minella Study is I think it jumps really well for a novice and he stays strongly. I mean, in time, I'm sure he'd want further, but I'm not a Triumph Hurdle, the runners do. Hoping that they're going to still have some juice in the ground on that day, so it's a test of stamina. And I think the horse will run very well. There might be something with a bit more class. I'm not saying there won't, but it's not a strong view. But I just feel that he's got a lot of pluses, and I think the race could set up nicely for him.
Were you impressed with Maestro Conti last time?
Yeah, absolutely. More pace, I think, probably than Minella. He'd be the opposite. I think for him, I wouldn't mind the ground drying out. It's just a question of how much of a slog it is. But yeah, absolutely. And it's trained by a master, and I can see it for sure. But of the British, I slightly prefer Minella.
What about yourself, Tom, across British and Irish?
Well, 8 of the last 10 have gone to Ireland, and I was just saying the first of those was Aidan O'Brien. So, I mean, the Brits haven't had much of a look in of late. I mean, and last year we were meant to have the best form in the race, and we did probably with the top 2 in the market, and went and got nutted by 100 to 1 shot. So, although that can't really happen this year, can it? Well, I mean, it definitely can't, given the changes to the race. I would love Minella Study to win, but I am invested in that horse for Adam Nicol's sake. My judgment's probably a bit clouded. I guess I struggle to see it. I struggle to see the Triumph Hurdle happening and it being Adam Nicol in the winner's enclosure. That's just, I do. I can't help it. I think the horse has got, loads in his favour, but I think it'll probably be WP Mullins for however many years in succession.
Come back here in 10 years' time, they'll offer your favourite Triumph Hurdle member, and you'll say, in the winner's enclosure after, seeing Adam Nicol.
Adam Nicol.
So I'm unhappy with
and I always thought it would happen. I'll probably end up backing something like a Macho Man to get the better with Proactive. He was, he was sent off favourite last time. He was putting his place on the day, but this is very early stages, isn't it? And there's a heck of a lot between them at the prices. So yeah, I won't be playing bang at the top of the market, I don't think, and I'll be playing Irish.
Okay, Macho Man, I think at 10s. What about yourself, Dave?
I know you love your stats and you do a lot of research. Do you know the fact that Ireland have won 8 of the last 10 Triumph hurdles has no bearing on this year's Triumph hurdle whatsoever?
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
Willie Mullins never won a Cheltenham Festival handicap chase.
So
Can't win one this year.
Adam Nicol,
That's why can't.
it's a cliche. If he was trained by someone else, he'd be a much shorter price. But it's truly Adam Nicol can train a Cheltenham Festival winner. I have no doubt at all. Minella Study beat One Horse Town by far more than Maestro Conti did. See it, visualize it. It can happen.
It would be awesome. I would love it.
You're a Tottenham supporter. You
we
need miracles.
That is
We
true.
can't. I mean, the fact you got 2 Spurs fans on your preview. That's a big worry. That's a big worry.
Yeah.
We're going to go Spursy in a minute, I
Oh
think.
God.
Yes.
So Manella's Study then, Macho Man, probably the two to focus on in that from the guy's point of view. What about the next race, the 240? Well, of course, you've got a horse who's already won this race, the Mare's Chase. That's Dino Blue, looking to defend her title. Where again, it looks like a Willie Mullins, maybe with a Dan Skelton horse in the mix, Dave, at the top of the market.
Yeah, look, Panic Attack's had an extraordinary season, and she's winning a Paddy Power and a Coral Gold Cup. I mean, you think how can you even top that? Well, winning a festival race certainly would. Dino Blue, though, 11-8 favourite. We spoke in an earlier show about Lossiemouth. I think this is a very similar story. I think Dino Blue will just win this because she is the best mare in the race. Spindlebury, they really upped their sights with her last time. Obviously at the Dublin Race Festival, it didn't pay off. I'd worry about her sort of bouncing back. I think it all just looks very boring, but actually an 11-8 winner as we build up to the Gold Cup, it'll do for me.
What about yourself, Tom?
I think you can get a beat this year. I'd be taking her on, Dino Blue.
Mhm.
Yeah, look, she was very impressive last year in beating Bride's Hill. And what was the race before the Gold Cup last year? It was the race before the Gold Cup last year, I feel like. It was very quick ground. It was because Gavin Cromwell was walking the track to see whether they were going to run the Gold Cup winner. I don't think it'd be that quick this year, but all in all, I think there's just a bit more depth. You know, if they all turn up, Spindlebury, Panic Attack, I think I would like to have those on my side. I think there's more depth. I think you can get her beat this year. She's not been asked to do anything at 4s on and 8s on so far this year. I'll have Panic Attack running for me. We have no idea how good she is. Not many horses have done the Cheltenham Coral Gold Cup double. And
Thanks again to our sponsors, Coral.
Yep. Yeah.
Give us a roar.
Do you know what annoys me? It's when people say the Mackerson Hennessy double. That really winds me up. It does. So yeah. The fact that she's done. Look, she's got a bit to find on race rate 147, but I think she's got a load of ability. Dan Skelton put her up as his best bet going into last year in the plate, I think it was, and then she ended up not running. Well, look at her now. She would have been a good thing then. Yeah, I'll have her running for me against Dino Blue.
4 against Dino Blue, Steve.
I think she's the right favourite. Doesn't excite me at a price. I think she's most likely winner. My feeling about Panic Attack, who I really like as a horse, I think we jumped brilliantly at Newbury. Genuinely, I'm not taking a mick. I don't know if data backed that up, but visually, it's one of the best rounds of jumping I've seen this year. It was so fast over the obstacles, and I just worry that she wants further. I know she won at the beginning of the year, the Paddy Power, but I think her real form has come where she stepped up into it. It's interesting that the National is her target, and I can actually see that. I really can. She was brilliant at Newbury. I'd love her to win. I just fear it might be a bit sharp for her. So Dino Blue, I think, is the most likely winner, but not exciting.
I was interested in Brian Drew, who said earlier on this week he said, right now it's all about Cheltenham, and then we'll see about the National. I mean, she does strike you more as a staying tight, doesn't she?
Does me, yeah.
Yeah.
But she is. She's very good, and she's getting better.
Okay, that's then a look at the Mare's Chase. What about the next race, which is the Albert Bartlett? Back to Grade 1 company here. Now, interesting thing really, from a betting perspective, Dave, is no winning favourite, at least since going back to 2016, I can see here. You've had 2 33-1 winners, a 50-1, a couple of 18-1s, So it's a race where if you fancy one at a bigger price, they can spring a surprise.
Absolutely, yeah. Do not be put off. The market's headed by Dr. Steenberg, and you've got the likes of the Devil, no drama this end, but I think he'll go elsewhere. I'll sort that. I thought is a big price. Trained by Declan Quealy, dented a lot of big reputations last time out, and is perhaps again underestimated because of connections. He does also have the opportunity, or the option, I should say, of the Turners. But it's funny you mentioned, obviously, outsiders have a good record in this. I keep hearing every single Cheltenham preview, pundit tells me Dr. Steenberg's a terrible favourite. I keep looking through this race, and I just keep coming back to him, because he does just keep winning. He did win the Grade 1 at the Dublin Race Festival. He is trained by Willie Mullins. And actually, might he be one of those that bucks a trend in this race? It's a favourite that wins it. I'm just not sure the race he won last time was quite as bad as everyone is trying to have me believe.
Was Willie Mullins toying with people in the aftermath saying maybe he's got too much pace for an Albert Bartlett and saying he'd go for the Turners therefore?
Yeah, I suppose that's part of the argument. People are maybe worried because my memory of Albert Bartlett is they're really attritional. For a novice, particularly again if you get cut in the ground, 3 miles you've got to stay, and if he does stay, then he'll probably win. He was impressive. I agree with Dave. I am slightly concerned about the 3 mile, and I thought the Devil tries at 3 mile for the first time in the River Don and just looked a relentless stayer. I mean, really impressive from and after the last. And I think maybe that's his niche. Maybe they found, because I know he got beat by the favourite that they met earlier, but that was 2.5 miles steadily run. And I do think this is an out and out stayer. So at the prices, I'm not anti Dr. Steenberg, but I'd be more pro the Devil. I think it's bound to run well.
Okay, the Devil then for Steve. What about yourself, Tom?
I'm always looking to play down the market. Stellar Story 33-1, 18s, Stairway Faye, the Nice Guy 18s, Vanillier 14s, Milella Indo 50s, Kilbrick and Storm 33s. I know Yasmin Lebo won at 6-1 last year, but I think it's a race where, particularly if we get a big field and it looks like, testing enough conditions, I think it's worth paying attention to the fact we had decent ground for the Friday last year and a shorter price horse won it. If it is looking testing, just play down the market. Play horses with experience that you don't think are good enough. I remember sitting up, I'm going to throw Niall Hannity under the bus here, but I was sitting opposite him a couple of years ago at a curry house. And I said, don't you just want to have one of these Gordon Elliott horses in there? And he knows the yard very well. Why don't they have a Stellar Story or something? And he was, can't be good enough. And I let you take the point, but he won because it was a real test and he had experience. I think he was maybe a second season novice going into that. I'll play something on the day which has had loads of runs and it is definitely lining up. And the other one I wanted to mention is your I'll Sort That. I'm worried he's going to go for the Turners, but I would like him for this race. So if he lined up here, I would be very interested, but I'm worried he's going to go for the Turners.
I think you talk about an attritional race. I think he showed last time that he does stay, and I think he's exactly the sort that would relish this and will be a bigger price because of his connection. So let's hope they're listening, and let's hope. When you listed all those previous winners, I thought you backed them as the way you were speaking.
Absolutely. No, my problem is I haven't found one of them, but otherwise. But I wouldn't touch Dr. Steenberg at the top of the market just on the profile of the race. Personally, I wouldn't go anywhere near him, but he might win.
Okay, that's the Albert Bartlett then. Steve with the Devil and Dave and Tom both I'll Sort That round 12-1. Next race, of course, is Jump Racing's Blue Ribbon event. It's the Cheltenham Gold Cup. But before that, thanks again to our sponsors, Coral, who are celebrating 100 years. So we again asked the guys for their favourite memory of the Gold Cup. Who wants to go first, Tom?
Yeah, I'll go first. It's Denman. I remember driving to the track, my mum and dad in the front, 2 friends along either side of me before I worked in racing, and they all had Corto scarves on and I had my Denman scarf on. Good man. I absolutely loved him. I don't know, Corto was great, fine, but Corto was just fine.
More than fine.
For me, he was fine. He was for Denman was the tank. I just adored him. He was everything about staying jump racing for me. He was fabulous, and that was just a day I'll never forget. It was one of my best ever days racing.
Yeah, relentless, remorseless. What about yourself, Steve?
I probably would have chosen the same one, but they're all truly different. I'll make it purely, this is self-indulgence, about where we have a bit of luck really, and he was lucky. I was away with my family, staying in a place called Bartlett on Water, not far from Cheltenham, and the forecast going into the week, it was a 3-day meeting then, going into Thursday, there would get quite a lot of rain. And I found myself looking at a few of the horses towards the Hedge Market I didn't really fancy. There was a very short price favourite on Carville's Hill. If you didn't have the good price, there was no point anyway. And I fancied a horse called Ground to run well, no more than that. And I dragged my wife out to, let's say it's the Congo bench, I don't know if it was, and 50 to 1. And so I backed the horse there. On the grounds, I thought a couple of horses might be a non-runner, and there'd be 8 runners, and I might nick third. We had no rain at all before Cheltenham, none at all. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is the worst bet I've ever had. And duly 10 minutes later, Adrian Maguire gets up very narrowly. I think he got a whip band, everything. But he won, and so in the end, it paid for Bartlett on Water. So it was a good day.
Okay, 1992 Cool Ground. How about yourself, Dave?
I go back to 1926 and Cottage Race. No, I miss so many. I love this race. I have to mention 1989 Desert Orchid just because.
Fantastic.
Exactly. But again, look, the Corto Denman era, brilliant.
Brilliant.
Just so good. But I go back to 2004 and Best Mate just because he made history. It's been 3 Gold Cups. And Simon Holt, a brilliant commentator. That's all you have to say. 3 Gold Cups. It was, and you can argue about what he beat and this and that. But the fact that Henrietta Knight and Terry Biddlecombe and Jim Cullity got in there 3 years on the spin to win every single time was very special.
It absolutely was. Yeah.
I'll go for Coney just to be a bit different. 2015, Nico de Bourneville, Mark Bradstock, a small yard getting the better of the big boys. A novice as well, first it's Christie.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one springs in my memory. But this year's Renault looked really good, Dave. Plenty of strength in depth and competitive from a betting perspective too.
Yeah, like I say, second biggest betting race of the entire year behind the Grand National, and this year will be well up to par. 4 to 1 the field at the moment, although interestingly, I actually think it's the wrong favourite in Django Bay at 4 to 1. 5 to 1 Gaelic Warrior. He's got other options. The Jukebox Man will be here. The brilliant King George winner. 8 to 1 Galopin de Champagne for a 3rd Gold Cup. Haiti Colour for Wales, the Coral Welsh Grand National winner. I know the way you're thinking last year's winner. The list, honestly, I haven't even got to Grey Dawning for Dan Skelton. Steve, if 9 out of the top 10 in the betting lineup, it's going to be some race.
It's such a fantastic race. I mean, it's the highlight of the week, I think. I mean, Last Mo, Wish Factor Fun and Gatewell were both running because they're both entitled. But take that aside, one of them's going to run, and it's terrific. Let's hope they all get there. No last minute hitches. And we can talk about the King George who might win. We can talk about this. We all have different opinions, but it is a proper race.
So let's go through them then. Maybe let's start with the King George itself. The Jukebox Man came out on top, Steve. How would you be siding with him in terms of Cheltenham?
As a Tottenham fan, I'm hanging on for anything now because Harry Redknapp owns him. To be honest, the horse I fancy most of the horses who ran the King George, for a couple of reasons. It was sort of still almost a novice when he ran there. I was really impressed in what was a tactical race. They didn't go very quick, then they sprinted up the straight. I thought his jumping under pressure for an inexperienced horse was really good, really good. I think a test of stamina, he ran the Albert Bartlett last year, will really suit him. I see him as a stronger stayer than Django Bay. I may be wrong. I just see him as a stronger stayer. So he'd be the way I went. I think Cheltenham will suit him more than Kempton. I mean, absolutely prepared to be completely wrong, but I do think he's going the right way. Ben Pauling's had a great year and continues in good form, and I think Cheltenham will suit.
But Django Bay, you don't fancy from a staying perspective?
It's not like I think this won't win. Just my feeling is that I think the Jukebox Man is I think he's the stronger stayer. I could be wrong. That was my gut feeling watching Kempton.
Tom?
I agree that at the prices, the Jukebox Man would be definitely the one to be with for me. There was an element of, it was a tactical race. 4 in a line over the last, wasn't it, there or thereabouts? They can't have gone hell for leather because I don't think you'd get that. But then, we don't seem to get those sort of Gold Cups of old where you back a Grand National horse who's going to stay on for the places. But, sometimes they don't always go hell for leather of late, it seems, in a Gold Cup. So I think that's worth bearing in mind when you look at this race, although Haiti Claw's probably not going to hang around, to be fair.
No.
I hope we do get a proper test. which will find some of them out. And I think the Jukebox Man, you know, based upon the Albert Bartlett run, I think he's got loads in his favour. So I don't, by the way, I'm not against Django Bay at all. I think he's, again, got lovely credentials for the race.
Right.
And we don't know whether he'll be suited by an end-to-end gallop over 3-2 at Cheltenham. So I thought those were probably the two, particularly given we don't know what's going to run from Willie Mullins' yard in Fact to File and Gaelic Warrior. But at the prices, I'd have to be with the Jukebox Man.
Dave?
It's interesting. I didn't even mention Fact to File actually is the 5-2 favourite, non-runner money back. Of course, he needs to be supplemented. Now, that's not an issue for JP. We know that. It's interesting. In the last couple of days, I know the way you're thinking. That, let's face it, it's had a pretty wretched season on the track. Has shortened up 16s, 14s, 12s, just being nibbled at, which suggests is he showing a bit more at home.
Probably.
Cheltenham, horses for courses. He was brilliant last year. If he runs, is Fact to File less likely to run here because JP doesn't need to supplement? I mean, these are questions. He's got Spillane's Tower as well, of course, that won the Cotswold Chase. So there's lots of pieces to put into place. I mean, Galopin de Sham, I'm not saying the stat, you'll give me a stat about 10-year-olds. They can obviously win it, but he just doesn't quite look good enough this year. I feel his chance has gone.
I just... At the what price is he now, Galopin de Sham? Is he double one? Okay. I feel like if he's, you know, if I'm on the day looking at it and you've got Fact to File and Gaelic Warrior in there, whatever, and you're looking at Galopin de Sham as a sort of 10-1 shot, and you're going, because they said all year, we went to see Willie back in October, I think it was, and you know, he talked about this horse as it's all about the Gold Cup this year. Because they really felt they had unfinished business last year. They had that day, they won every race up to the Gold Cup, and then what price did he go off last year? 8-13, and he got beat. And I don't think he loved that ground. You know, it was pretty quick, wasn't it? So I'll look at his price on the day, and I still think it could just be that it's been all about the Gold Cup this year. He didn't have his normal start in the 2.5 mile race. So
Paul Townend's already said. He's like, you know, he said, how can I get off him if you were to go and win a third Gold Cup? So that's going to be obviously a big plus. Gaelic Warrior, you think we'll have another. But I mean, I say it is brilliant. I feel on good ground, Django Bay's got a really good chance. But on anything softer, I'm not sure he gets up the hill. Haiti Glue, if it turned out to be a real orc, why he won at Chepstow, he'll be, you know, he'll have Sean Bowen putting all the others under pressure from the World Cup. I mean, there's so many potential outcomes. It's what a Gold Cup should be, of course.
Yeah. If Fact to File did run here, and I know you think he's more likely to run in the Ryanair stage.
It's a guess.
But do you think that he's answered all the stamina questions last time?
My own view is I would worry about stamina. I think there's a big difference between the Leopardstown 3 mile a bit to 3.25 miles at Cheltenham, up and downhill, particularly if there's cut in the ground. I would worry. Again, I'd love him to win in terms of a really good horse winning and proving me wrong. I'm not certain, but I would be worried about him staying personally.
And what do you think about Galopin de Sham, Steve, as well?
I think talking about good. I think the horse is. I can't believe he's better than he was. I can't believe that. I think he's bound to run well. I suspect that the younger horses just might have his legs. That's what I fear.
From if it did come up soft, a native river, sort of Haiti Couleur, it would need to come up soft, very soft, wouldn't it, really?
Yeah, he's not for me. I can't really see, unless it was super testing. I'd still probably back something else personally.
And then a couple of others I've mentioned. I mean, Spillane's Tower did it nicely in the Cotswold, Steve?
Yeah, love Cheltenham. Definitely worth his place in the race. I think one or two others might be a little bit classier. But
were you disappointed with Grey Dawning that day?
I was going to make something. I thought that was ridden with an idea of it being Gold Cup is the day that matters.
Yeah, he said that after.
I really. There was a bit where he made a slight mistake. Was it 3 out or 2 out?
Yeah.
And if that had been a really important race, he would have got after it quite quickly. I thought he sat for about 100 yards, thinking today's. Don't give the one to the non-try. I don't mean that. I mean it wasn't the be all and end all.
That he said afterwards. I think it was. It's a day where you can't win the Gold Cup, but you can lose it.
Yeah, I think that will run well, personally. I think that probably doesn't want it very soft. I think he does stay, but I think just a bit more of a test of speed.
So siding then, Dave, who are you going to be with?
God, it's such a. I'm a Portsmouth fan, so we too love Harry Redknapp.
Yeah.
King George Day was brilliant.
Yeah.
I know none of that matters, but it would be a tremendous story for the sport. I also think the Duke Bonanza has got a brilliant chance. When he won at Haydock first time up this season, first run after a long break, I thought he was electric. He then went to Kempton, won that absolute thriller. I think he'll stay up the hill. Ben Pauling is having an incredible season. Right here and now, without knowing the ground, it would be the Jukebox Man. But honestly, this is such a good racing prospect that come the day, I'll probably have about 7 bets.
Steve?
I agree. It's a great race, first of all. It's a really exciting race. My fancy is the Jukebox Man. Were the race tomorrow, I would definitely have something on Grey Dawning as well.
And Tom?
That's Jukebox, and I'll check in with Galopan on the day.
Okay. 4 votes for the Jukebox Man. That's his chances.
The most open Gold Cup. More like Harry Redknapp.
Well, if the Jukebox Man doesn't do it, you can get all your money back in the Foxhunters. I'm sure you'll all be getting involved in that one. Next race, which is the 440. The defending champion is the favourite, I think, Dave, ahead of It's on the Line Wonderwall.
Yeah, and look, plenty of punters do. As I say, this is a huge betting race on the day. I'm hopefully still going to be celebrating the Jukebox Man winning the Gold Cup. Wonderwall is the 4-1 favourite. It's on the line 5-1. Panda Boy 6-1. Consrock 7-1. I'm hoping the 2 gentlemen next to me are far better on this Hunter Chase than I am.
Steve, anything I would say is It's on the Line, of course, has finished second in this 3 years in a row. And they're doing things differently, I think, this year with him. Where would you side if you were getting involved?
Okay, I'll be honest, Hunter Chases aren't my bag. When I used to work as a pundit, I'd always ring up our good friend Jonathan Neeson when they had the Hunter Chase running. I was like, and he loved it. And I had 1 year of going to the points, and they were good, but it never really got me. So I'll be honest, I didn't really look at the race till I did half hour on it, finished program. Of just watching videos, if I had a bet, I'd back Con's ride to reverse the form with On the Line. I thought things didn't pan out for him, particularly around the home bend. Really stays on strongly, and I'd take a chance on that. But honestly, it's an opinion which is very low down in my Cheltenham opinions.
Okay, Consrock, who's been supported as well, I think, in the last few days. What about yourself?
Well, I wouldn't go with That's on the Line. I rang up a friend last year who said I had both the curling horses on side, and Wonderwall was a much bigger price of the two. Interestingly, he's got Wrapped Up in May in here, who's a bigger price than Wonderwall. But if I'm honest, I haven't rung my friend yet.
Saving that one.
I will lie to you and say I'm all in on the form. That's my easy way out, is to give him a buzz.
Okay, that's the Foxhunters, and then there are 2 handicaps to finish. We've got the County Hurdle and the Martin Pipe. So the County Hurdle first, that's off at 2 o'clock. Willie Mullins and Dan Skelter have dominated the race in recent years, Dave.
Yeah, I thought I should hand this over to Steve, because what you told us off air about those trains in this race. But very quickly, the market saved by Mercia 6-1, Charisma 7-1. I started a joke who we're going to see at Kelso, I think. 8-1. But Steve, you're sat about trainers dominating.
Well, it's amazing, isn't it? Given how competitive a race it is. There's normally 20 plus runners in the race. In the last 10 years, Willie Mullins has won 5 and Dan Skelter has won 4. Incredible. The only reason I looked at it, because I fancied a Dan Skelter before I knew that, to be honest. And look, there's going to be all sorts of gambles on the day. But I fancy Sinatra has been targeted with it, and he's won lots of races. I'm not saying he hasn't, but I thought it was really interesting they ran at Warwick last week. Unless I've read the conditions wrong, I think a novice has to run 5 times. That's right, is it? Yeah, before they can run in this race. And I think that's the reason they ran him at Warwick. It was a bit of a penalty. He didn't prove anything. He trotted round at 3s on. Before that, he got beaten at Sydney Bank. Both times, I think the horse is more speed than stamina. I think 2 mile 1 at Cheltenham will be the ideal trip, and I think he's off a mark. He will get in the race. He'd be my main fancy in the handicaps all week. So rightly or wrong, it's a race I like, and there's loads of others I could mention. I think Macho Man, Gary Borsell, what's it called? Mondo Man, and Hot Fuss is a real favourite of mine, but I'm desperate the horse should be ridden a certain way. So I might end up backing a couple of other horses for bits, but Sinatra will definitely be my main play.
14-1 then, Sinatra. Tom?
I was working with Steve when Sinatra won at Sandown, and you were I came away thinking, oh, how the hell would you put a rating on that? And you were in the review show we did on Racing TV, you were adamant he was worth a good bit more. So purely because of you, I think he's obviously very interesting, and Dan Skelton. I don't know if these horses are going to run, but they're two Mullins horses who I'm interested in. They could well go to the Martin Pipe, which we'll come to.
Oh.
But I wanted to flag up Rock Dino, the horse that finished behind El Kairos last time. And the horse that won at the end of last season at Sandown, who hasn't run since, under Harry Cobden, who I can't find. I probably should have written it down. Jump Allen. I've just thought was really interesting that he hasn't run for 321 days. He's been given 3 handicap entries, and he fairly bolted in, I thought, at the back end of last season. Now, maybe he's run over 3 miles, so maybe he's not a 2 miler for a county. I also just on the how you tend to want to be ridden in this race, as opposed to say a Coral Cup, I do like a horse that is a patiently ridden horse and can be held up off a bit of a gallop and come in swinging.
100%. I agree. Absolutely, Ruby used to ride this race.
Yeah.
This meet. Not in loads of races he rode great, but he was really. I remember running on Desert Quest here. He was fantastic.
Do you think there's a reason why? And actually, last year because last year was such a small field.
I think what that is.
It was strange.
I think it's the new course. It's such a long run from 4 furlong from 2 out onwards, or from 3 out onwards, and you've just got time. You just don't need to make a move, and the really good jockeys know that.
I think it's worth a race on the day if you've got a decent sized field. And last year was a bit of a funny one, but if you can find something that is going to be patiently ridden and you think it's well handicapped, that's going to be a plus.
John Pullen, and obviously Jimmy DeSoy won the Coral Cup on his first run of the season, didn't he, last year? So
He did, yeah.
that wouldn't be a concern coming in fresh.
No, but I do think he's more likely to go to the next race we're previewing.
Have you got a selection, Dave?
I don't see there's anywhere at all. Sinatra will be double figure odds on the day. I think he'll be considerably shorter. You just said it. Harry Skelton will know exactly how to ride him. Wait, counter 5, wait again, and off he goes. And that's that between the pair of them winning the lot.
It's amazing, yes.
Is he the only Skelton horse that's likely to run in it? Because normally he has 2 or 3.
Yeah, I hadn't even on the chat.
I think that's interesting.
So it just tells the story.
Yeah. Because he's won it with a second string a couple of times.
I don't see him being half the odds he is now.
And the final race to look ahead to is, as Thomas already mentioned, the Martin Pipe final race of the festival, where Dan Skelton has the joint favourite again, along with Mr. W.P. Mullins, Dave.
Indeed, yeah. A race Gordon Elliott has obviously done really well in over the years as well. Of course, Martin, his old mentor, 8-1 the field at the moment, says it all. Again, I'm going to pass over to my more esteemed colleagues here, because this is the race for the car park.
Well, you've already made a case for a couple of these.
By the way, like, this race is ludicrous. The horses it's produced, it's completely insane. I remember a few years ago we managed to get on Langadan for this before he won the Imperial Cup. I think about 40s. There's a few of us that were looking at it. Thought, well, he's going to run that,
Right?
And he managed to get beaten by Galopin Des Champs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows? Yeah, again, I've mentioned Rock Dino, who's an obvious one, but I think Jump Allen is more likely to come here. And if he is declared for this race, I would have to have a bit on, just because of the profile of the horse. And at Sandown, I thought he was mega impressive, and this is his more likely trip.
And as Tom says, Galopin Des Champs, Banbridge, Iroka, and Woodhoo are the last 4 of the last 5 winners.
Yeah.
Steve?
And to me, this of all the handicaps, one I found a puzzle at the moment. Well, they're all a puzzle, but I found it impossible. So many horses I've made a little note thinking, that could leave its novice form behind. Tom mentioned Rock Dino, been beat by Mighty Park and El Kairos. I think Willie Mullins will end up with a very fancy horse. I don't know which one, to be honest. I really don't know which one. It's in the too difficult trait for me.
Is there a reason, Steve? Putting you on the spot a bit. Why would this race throw up so many good horses?
Isn't it?
There's no obvious.
No. I really don't know.
Yeah, it's a new race at the festival, relatively new race at the festival, and
they're often chasers as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, 2 or 3 of them have been really good horses, turned out top chasers. Besides, not just galloping. You had the horse of who won. Oh gosh, I can't remember that. But
Sir Deschamps won this, didn't he?
Yeah, but there was a horse before that. You can stand colours. Anyway, it produces really good top class chasers. I have no idea why.
Okay, so that's a look then at the Martin Pipe. So just to sum up then, thanks again to our sponsors, Coral, of course, celebrating 100 years, and they're giving away 100,000 free bets every day of the Cheltenham Festival. So it's time to get the lads naps if they were to shake their phone and they could have their nap of the day. Tom, what would it be?
They're going to be annoyed if I go for the jukebox. They're going to be really annoyed. Is that okay?
Yes, of course it is.
Yeah, I'm a huge jukebox fan. So the jukebox man in the Gold Cup for me.
Steve?
Sinatra for me in the county hurdle.
And Dave?
Adam Nicol, Minella Study. Tom, see it happening. Time hurdle.
I'm going to go with Spinning a Yarn in the Albert Bartlett for Gordon Elliott. Hopefully, I think the extra trip might have more improvement. And again, like Tom was saying earlier, a horse who's already had a bit of experience but might be open to further progress. Remember, with Coral's free-to-play reward shaker, there are 100,000 free bets up for grabs every day of the festival. That's Cheltenham. More. David Stevens?
It is more rewarding.
Thank you. 18 plus UK, online only, max one reward offer per player per day. 8 AM till 8 PM is the offers operation. Reward restrictions, requirements and T&Cs apply. Thanks very much to the guys. We'll be back for one more show, which is looking ahead to their best bets for the entirety of the 2026 Cheltenham Festival. So look forward to that, but please remember to gamble responsibly.